Welcome, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Laura Johnston. I'm the Executive Creative Director in Geometry Chicago office, and I am so excited to welcome my client and huge next generation creative talent, co-founder of Hampton Water, Jesse Bongiovi, to the discussion today around the creative sommelier. Cheers, Jesse. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, chat about a little pink juice, you know.
The best kind.
Exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and dive in. As co-founder of a rosé company, I'm sure you feel inspired by creativity, whether it's through music or art or your personal passions. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspires your creativity and where you pull inspiration from?
For sure, yeah. I mean, you know, in this day and age, obviously everything is changing very rapidly, you know, especially when the pandemic kind of started and people were suddenly kind of locked in their homes. We had to kind of act quick because things that were really our bread and butter, you know, restaurants all over the country were suddenly closed and there was really no timeline for when they would open up again. And so we had to really look around not only through social media, but just sort of traditional press and things like that, and look at how other companies were sort of dealing with this issue and still getting to their consumers. And so we did a number of different things, whether it was Instagram lives or you know, different giveaways, things like that, just to keep consumers engaged, because we knew that who knew when the next time they were going to be able to go to their kind of local watering hole and have a glass of wine with their friends. So we tried to do everything that we could very quickly to you know, make quick changes and continue to get the word out about our brand. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we grab inspiration from anywhere we can get it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think in with the way that the world is moving and changing so quickly, that's almost how you have to be today, is to pull inspiration, whether it's from adversity or from the environment around you. I always try to feel and fuel my own creativity through the energy of other people, whether it's clients like you or my coworkers or friends or family. If you had to pick one person whose creative energy you admire, living or dead, who would that be for you? And then tell us a little bit about why.
Yeah, I mean, I think one person that really came to mind, and I think it's a good example, is Steve Jobs. You know, I don't know, for those of you that have seen this video, I've watched it 100 times, but it wasn't actually an interview or anything with him, but it was an explanation basically of how Apple really changed their way of marketing to people. And it's kind of this great diagram of 3 different rings. And it's basically saying, you know, what we are, who we are, how we are. So it's basically this idea that essentially everyone in the world is saying, we have these great computers, you know, they can do this, they can do this, they can do this. With it, you can do this and this and this. And that's who we are. And Apple, and I would imagine Steve Jobs, really kind of turned that on its head and said, you know that we're a great computer. This is who you are. This is what this product makes you. And it can do this and you can do this. And so I've really sort of tried to internalize that. And especially with Hampton Water, you know, we try to position ourselves as a real lifestyle brand. And so our whole thing is, you know what good rosé is. The world knows what good wine tastes like. And everyone has good wine nowadays. You know, you can find good wine anywhere. But we really try to set ourselves apart and say, we always kind of joke whenever we're going into restaurants and things like that. We say, we want to be in the places that you want to be. And we want to really focus on creating that lifestyle. And so all of our social media stuff, all of the restaurants that we really go after to try to target are really intended to push this idea of, you know, if you're sitting on a beautiful rooftop in Manhattan and the sun's going down, you're drinking Hampton Water. If you're on the beach in Santa Monica, you know, and you're hanging out at a kind of cool, hip place, you're drinking Hampton Water. If you're on the mountain in Aspen, you're drinking Hampton Water. And so that's really always been sort of our inspiration, is what are the kind of cool places and who are the people that we envision drinking the wine, and how do we get it to those people? Because that is really what's going to push the narrative of the people that know we're drinking the best wine in the world, and they're drinking Hampton Water.
I love it. You think about your brand as a narrative, and also it can also be a nice compliment to Zoom interviews in your home office with a favorite client.
Very true. It, it definitely is it's a good way to start any morning. I'm out on the West Coast right now, and so this is my lunch.
Cheers to that. Obviously, given the role that music has played in your life, especially, and defined, I'm sure, like many different periods of your life, and given like starting this brand, if you had to equate a song that defined the brand and this moment for you, I'm gonna ask you a really hard question. What song would that be and why? And
Well,
it's a little bit of a loaded question.
it
Sorry.
is. It is. I mean, obviously, music has always played a huge role in my life. I've always had a very eclectic taste in music, and I listen to all different kinds of music. But one song that I really have always sort of pulled inspiration from is, and it's really a whole album, but one song specifically is Sideline Story by J. Cole, who's a rapper from North Carolina. And it's really just about how when he was in high school and how he's sort of throughout his life has felt like he's always been passed up, and I really sort of looked at that, playing college sports. I was never really the biggest, strongest, fastest guy. And it was really something that I always kind of looked at and said, the whole story about how do you get up off the sidelines? How do you kind of get in the game? How do you set yourself apart? And so that's always been a song that's really been inspirational to me, and something that I've always really tried to carry kind of throughout my life is, he has this great line of, he's tired of coming up short, expletive abbreviated, wants his whole name spelt out. And so the whole thing is that it's about, and I think with me specifically, having my father be involved in this business, and he's always been a large shoes to kind of fill in my life.
Yeah.
How do I kind of set myself apart from that, and how do I set myself apart from that throughout, everything that I try to do? And people always kind of come to us and go, oh, well, why didn't you call it, rock and roll rosé, or how come you don't, the bottle, it doesn't have your dad's face on it, it would sell a million bottles and things like that. And we've always said that we wanted this to be more than just a celebrity brand. We didn't want this to just be a vanity project. We wanted this to be a real family business, and we wanted it to be something that, if you knew the story, great. If that's what got you into the store, awesome. But now going into our third year, we've kind of reached a point where people are looking for Hampton water. They're not going in going, where's Bongiovi's rosé? They're going in looking for our bottle, and they recognize the diver, and they recognize real aspects of the product. And so that's really been something that has always been an inspiration to me is, how do you get off the sidelines and really get in the game?
I love it. I'm going to go off script for just a second. And will you share, because I know the story of how Hampton Water came to be, but I think it's a really creative story. And I think it's proof that you truly do find inspiration from the world around you. Will you tell that story again one more time for everybody?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is kind of a funny story, and it is one of those stories that I think it just goes to show that there are no bad ideas, and it's just a matter of kind of going out and making your ideas a reality. But literally, Hampton Water was born from a very late night of drinking out on the east end of Long Island. Me and my college roommate, Ali Thomas, we both, grew up in New York. We both grew up going out to the Hamptons. And when we met at Notre Dame, we basically became very fast friends. And every summer we'd spend together going out and partying in the Hamptons. And the running joke became that our mothers were literally giving us a hard time and saying how much wine we were drinking all summer long. And essentially we just, to kind of get them to leave us alone, we were like, no, don't worry. Like, we're not, drinking all the time. We're just staying hydrated. We're drinking tons of Hampton water. And no matter what rosé we were drinking, we were calling it Hampton water, Hampton water, Hampton water. And literally one late night, my dad, who's always been a big rosé drinker, offered us a glass of pink juice, which is what he would call rosé, for the same reason that we would call it Hampton water. And basically, me and Ali, it was pretty late, and we had kind of been partying all day, and we looked at him and started giving him a hard time. And we were like, dude, you're not drinking pink juice anymore. Like, you're in the Hamptons. Have some class. Like, look around. You're not drinking pink juice. You're drinking Hampton water. And he lit up, was like, man, that is so funny. Can you imagine if someone put that on a bottle? Like, people out here would love it, blah, blah, blah. And me and Ali kind of looked at each other. And we were like, we could do that. I'm sure we could figure it out. And so we literally spent the next 6 months. We designed the label, we designed the bottle, and we really came up with this idea of wanting to really create a lifestyle. And our thinking was that, with Miami Vice in the 80s, people, they saw Don Johnson, they saw the white Ferrari, they wanted to roll up their suit jackets, they wanted to be a part of that lifestyle. And even if they'd never been to Miami, they had sort of an idea of what it was. And then in the 90s, it was Malibu, and it was Baywatch, and it was 90210, and people saw that kind of beach lifestyle and said, oh, I got to go out to California. I got to be a part of that. That's where it's kind of all happening. And for us, we really saw that as the Hamptons being that next place. And so our thinking was that people saw things like Diddy's White Party, and now everywhere you go, people have white parties every summer. And, that started out in the Hamptons, and shows like Royal Pains, and now shows like Billions and Summer House on Bravo. Those are all kind of sharing this idea of this Hampton lifestyle, of this, going to the beach and these beautiful houses, and, really enjoying this place that is on the eastern end of Long Island. And so we really took that and said, what's the thing that brings all of that together? Has always been rosé. And so we brought that idea back to my dad. We said, look, this is kind of the concept. This is how we want it to look, and this is how we want it to feel. And he fell in love with it all over again. We ended up getting introduced to Gerard Bertrand a few months later, and we told him the idea of trying to share the lifestyle, and he was all over it. And 3 years later, we've been in the wine business for quite some time now, and back to back 90-point ratings from Wine Spectator. We were the first rosé in the last 20 some years to be on Wine Spectator's top 100 list. And so we like to think that we are playing a pretty serious role in really expanding the rosé wave, not just, on the East Coast, or not just in the Northeast, but across the country. And we think around all year round, because so many people forever have just seen rosé as kind of a summer drink. And a big thing for us is, why do you have to put it away on Labor Day? There are plenty of places around the country that don't get cold. I'm out in sunny Southern California, and it's rosé season all year round. So we certainly drink it all the time, and we think everyone else should too.
Absolutely. It tastes best chilled, whether the air around you is chilled or happens to be hot. I agree with you. And I love that story so much, because I think it's just proof that, like you said it in jest, but there are no bad ideas. But then to take the germ of an idea and push it and see how far you can go and how far you can take it. And obviously, those late night moments joking around with your best friend and ribbing your dad are a source of inspiration. But I'm curious, what else gets you in the mood to be creative? When you do you have a certain flow that you get into when you need to solve a problem, or maybe when you need to ideate?
Yeah, me and my dad often joke about, we call it our late night meetings, and it's literally like the hour before you fall asleep, and you're kind of rolling around in bed, and it's like, that's a good idea. And so when we were initially designing the label, the 2017 and 2018 vintage had the letter that appeared on the label. And we, obviously working together, have turned that really into more of a manifesto about the brand. But literally, I woke up in the middle of the night and rolled over and grabbed my phone and typed up that whole letter and texted it to my dad at like 1:30 in the morning. And I was like, hey, look at this in the morning, but what do you think of it? And he was like, I love this idea, and basically the whole thing started with, dearest friends, you have great taste. You've just picked up your new favorite bottle of wine. Yes. And so the whole thing was really what kind of pushed the brand. And we put it on the front of the label. And the thinking was that it was sort of our invitation to let people know that they've made the right decision in picking up Hampton water. And we've really carried that throughout the years as what's really informed the rest of the thinking on the brand, and to say, like, welcome to the club with everything that we do. And, our whole thing is, no matter where you are, you could be in Long Island, you could be in Miami, you could be, at a pool party in Ohio, as long as you have Hampton water, you're living the Hampton life. And so that was really kind of our thinking behind the entire brand. But yeah, I mean, the inspiration kind of comes whenever. And I've really never been one to just like, okay, for the next hour, I'm going to be creative. It happens at random times of the day, and often in the middle of the night. So my whole thing is just being able to kind of catch the idea when it comes to me.
I think that's a lovely thought, being able to catch the idea when it comes to you. Yeah, we say all the time, like, you can't schedule creativity. As much as we are in a business, and you're in a business as well, you know, it doesn't always happen between 9 and 5, and it doesn't always happen between 1 and 2 during the meeting when it's supposed to. But I
Right.
love the idea of always just being ready to catch it. Okay, get your brain warmed up. Let's get into the fun questions. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, I just need 1 or maybe 2 or 3 word answers for this next round. If
All
you
right.
could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would you trade lives with?
Oh gosh. Tom Brady.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you?
Well, this can't get a one-word answer. I would say probably a 4. But if you say you're cool at all, you're not cool. And so I think probably 0 would be the cool answer, but I'd like to think a 10. That's a complex one. I think if you say you're a 10, you're a 0. If you say you're a 0, you're trying too hard and you actually want to be cool. So I'm going to stick with 4, but I think I'd like to be a 10. Who wouldn't?
I would give you a 10, but I like your answer. I like the strategy, the strategic approach to answering that question. So, Jesse, since I'm giving you a 10 on the cool factor scale, and we know that your product has earned a phenomenal 90-point rating like 3 years in a row, can you tell people where to follow you and where to buy this delicious elixir?
Oh, you mean this stuff right here?
And this stuff right here.
Yeah, so you can find us if you want to follow us on any social media. You can find us at Hampton Water on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, just at Hampton Water. And you can find me. We travel all over the country and do things like liquor store tasting, stuff like that. We're constantly promoting places all over the country. So if your local liquor store carries us, you can let us know at Hampton Water. We'll be able to kind of push that out and promote it. Also, if you wanted to go on our website and find a liquor store near you that carried us, we are at www.hamptonwaterwine.com. Scroll down to the bottom, there's a map with all kinds of different spots that have us, and you'll be able to find us there. And if you can't find us at any of those places, which is pretty hard to believe, you can always order a bottle or a case at wine.com or at wineonsale.com. And right now, if on wine.com, you use the promotion Hampton 10, you get 10% off if you order 3 bottles. So all of those places, we will bring it to you as fast as we can.
It's worth it. It's delicious.
Back to back 90-point ratings is hard to beat.
Absolutely. What TV sitcom family would you like to be a member of?
Oh man, that's a good one. Would I like to be a member of? Well, recently I've been watching Sex and the City with my girlfriend, so maybe that little crew would be a lot of fun, although it seems a little stressful. If it was just me, maybe Billions, because those guys seem to kind of work hard, party hard, and they all seem to be very brilliant. But realistically, I'd probably be Bart from The Simpsons.
Again,
I've been known to get in some trouble, so I would go with Bart, I guess.
that's again a very strategically thought out answer. I love it. What's a fashion trend that you just don't get?
Ripped jeans. There's plenty of holes already in jeans. You don't need to wear ripped ones.
If you had access to a time machine, where and when would you go?
I would say, that's a good one. I would say maybe the 80s. It seems like my dad had a pretty good time, and I think I would too. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm growing the hair out since quarantine has started. And so I think I'd fit right in. But yeah, probably the 80s. It just seems like it was a real good time. So I think I would flourish back then. You don't have to worry about social media in 84. You know what I mean? You could get away with a lot more stuff back then.
I am struck again by the strategic thoughtfulness of your answer, like a good time in history to party and have a good time, yet no historical record of said good time. I love
Exactly.
it. Okay, I just have one more. This might be the hardest one, or maybe the easiest one. What is success?
That's tough. You know, if you go on my Twitter, I saw a quote a while ago that one of my coaches actually tweeted. There was success is never owned, it's leased, and rent is due every day. And so I think that success is a moving target. You know, I think that you can be monetarily successful, you know, but does that mean that you're fulfilled in your life? I don't know. You know, I think that it's something that you got to kind of go out and get every day. You know, whenever you think that you've kind of reached the mountaintop, you realize that you're just on the first hill, you know, and there's a whole lot left to go. So I don't think that success is something that's ever really reached. You know, my dad, who's always been a real inspiration to me, he very easily could rest on his laurels, but he was just busted my chops on the flight out to California that he ran 20 something miles this week and woke up, you know, that morning at 7 a.m. and went on a 5-mile run. And I mean, the guy works harder than anybody I know, and he certainly doesn't have to in most people's books.
I love that. And having had the chance to get to know you a bit, I can say that you are living that as well. I feel like I love how you question us and are always thinking about how can we and what could we do. And I think that that's what's propelled Hampton Water to its success. And cheers to more success down the road. Thanks so much for this time.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.